All right, today is January 14th, 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard. We're going to do our weekly update. The commitment to traders data was delayed again due to the Jimmy Carter passing and the day off on Thursday, so the CFTC didn't put out our commitment to traders data until yesterday. So we had a little bit of a delay in terms of that data feed, and we wanted to delay this report in order to get a good glimpse into commercials versus speculators and how people are positioned. So, with that said, let's talk through what we're looking at right now, what we're in, and what the setups are. And first, I will start with the high level view. From our weekly setups view here, we've got 9 charts that are open. So, I'm going to talk through each one. We've got platinum, and I'm just going to clean up these charts a little bit. So there's open interest that keeps kind of popping up on these. Platinum, I am liking the opportunity of accumulating platinum anywhere below, I would say, $930 to $900. I think platinum has a lot of room to head higher here, and I'm very bullish right now in this cycle or this quarter for precious metals. So platinum, palladium, silver, gold, and copper, I think have some room to head higher here, especially given the inflation readings have been coming a little bit hot. So there's been this kind of balancing act where if inflation's hot, then that means rate cuts are going to be delayed, which now has been actually negative for gold. And then silver is more of an economic play, not a pure inflationary hedge. So we've got this kind of balancing act, right? If yields remain high, then it's people don't buy gold; they'd rather be in yields. It's a safe return. And with silver, it's got this industrial component, and then you've got platinum is more industrial, and palladium is industrial. So if the market slows or inflation picks up, which causes the market to slow, causes unemployment to go up, then precious metals fall. So there's what I'm getting at is there's a very these are very like multi-dimensional challenges with everything that goes on in the economy and in the market, and we really have to just look at the charts and look at the behavior of how people are reacting to the data that comes out. But with that said, I am bullish on platinum. I would like to accumulate if this gets back down in this $930 to $900 range. Silver, I'm currently in on, and we'll talk about why in a moment. Bitcoin, same thing. We're in on a position. I'm in on copper. I'm looking to get in on gold, but gold currently is actually we've missed our entry, which we'll talk about. Cotton, I'm in a very small position. I'm eyeing the Aussie dollar and the British pound, and then I'm also watching palladium. So let's actually talk through again our strategy, how we invest here at Commodities Capital. So what we're actually doing is we are analyzing momentum trades, and we're also analyzing reversal contrarian trades using commitment to trader data. So out of these charts, platinum and palladium are more just range bound trades. So I am bullish metals. I'm looking for these to get to an accumulation range where we would go long. That is basically the thesis of those two. But for all of these other trades, we've actually got a combination of the reversals or the momentum system. So silver has actually flagged a momentum buy, which has us in on a position. Bitcoin has actually also flagged a momentum buy. If I pull up our momentum buy strat, um, if I go our regular contract of Bitcoin, it's actually potentially having his exit today, which is interesting. I wonder why that is because the moving averages aren't crossed. I'll have to look into that. But we did get a buy down here. We did get in on that recent dip. I'll have to look in terms of why it's actually flagging for us to exit. But nonetheless, we are in on the smaller micro Bitcoin contract. From a momentum standpoint, we are in on a smaller copper contract. From a momentum standpoint, we actually caught some momentum here and we've been heading a little bit higher. Gold flagged momentum as well, and it's had a nice rip higher, but we actually missed that trade. Cotton, I'm liking from an accumulation standpoint, and the commitment of trader data is suggesting commercials are getting long, and the speculators are starting to short this thing a little bit too much and get crowded. I have noticed that there's a magnet of a price here, so every time this kind of gets below 67.50, we actually rip back higher. So if we look at the chart here further out, let's see if I can get this thing to pull. Every time it gets down a little bit below that, it rips higher. It gets down, rips higher, it gets down. I'm expecting at least a bit of a bounce. It might be a lower high, as we've seen that, But if we get a lower high to $72, it's still a pretty decent swing from where we're at right now at 67.40. So I do like the opportunity there on cotton. Aussie dollar is maximum crowded short from my look back period. There's too many people that are shorting this thing into the ground. The US dollar has been ripping, and there's just a really good opportunity for us to look to get long, but we need to find a bottom and a reversal. We are not quite there yet. Same thing with the British pound. I actually had to pull this thing up to a 5-year look back just to start to get, just to start to find a, kind of a bottom here on this chart. So if we go on the 1 year, I mean, that's a nasty candle we just saw. I don't know if the bottom's going to be put in on that, but there might be an opportunity for us to get long if we see a reversal. But speculators are max crowded short on this thing. I don't know if people can get much more short. Price can still go lower, but I think we're getting near a bottom here, and the US dollar might be getting near a top as well. So those are what we're looking at. Again, we're in on Bitcoin from a momentum standpoint, silver, copper, and we are looking to get in on gold. I actually think gold is going to retest. If we actually pull up the GC chart, we're actually in a wedge pattern right now. I'll have to remove the study so you guys can see this. I'm going to go ahead and remove all studies, and we'll get rid of some of these other lines from prior technical analysis. You can see a bit of a wedge here. So if you look at this bottom line here and then this top line, we are trading in a bit of a wedge pattern. So it is a question of, are we going to break up and then head higher to all-time highs, or are we going to break down and head lower? I do think we're going to retest the bottom of this wedge before heading higher. So I think we're, from Elliott wave theory, we're actually in a bit of a corrective move, I believe, after the candle from yesterday. But we're trading the smaller contract QO, and that's what we're actually watching here from a momentum standpoint. That's where we got flagged to go in from momentum. So that's what we're looking at there. I've got the setups written on the side here. I've got energies were bullish for Q1, and crude has done really well, as well as heating oil, and nat gas was also a decent trade for us. Precious metals, we're looking at early Q1 bullish. Livestock, we're kind of staying out of right now. Currencies are bullish for US, Aussie, and New Zealand dollar for Q1 is likely from a cycle standpoint, and we're looking for a correction in the US dollar before the next rally. Cotton likely to rally in Q1. NASDAQ and the SPY likely to head higher in Q1. We're in a corrective wave that we'll talk about in a second here. And then we should see a slight rise on the 30-year, which also would be beneficial for TLT, which is the 20-year that we've been watching. So and then again on the side here, we're in on silver. We're watching the pound and the Aussie. We've got some close setups that aren't quite there yet. We are in on cotton, so I'm going to change that to green. In on Bitcoin, looking to add more contracts. Copper, we're in. Silver, we're in actually from a momentum standpoint, but we're also in on the commitment to trader reversal standpoint. So we got flagged to buy on silver from momentum. We're getting a nice move up. And then what we actually saw was, as we're moving higher, the commitment to trader data had silver set up to go long. And we saw moving averages cross, things were looking bullish, and that is why we actually are in on 2 positions for 2 different strategies. And then we're still looking to get in on gold, and we're watching platinum and palladium. So yeah, with that said, take a quick look at the markets here. I want to say we're at about a 5% retrace of the S&P right now. We had a bit of a gap fill from the election here, and then we had a bounce. The NASDAQ, not looking too good yet. Looks like we're going to potentially break down lower. And there is possible head and shoulders somewhere in here. We're going to keep watching this closely. I do think we're headed a little bit lower here before a bounce back, but who really knows? I hesitate to short stocks. It's just very difficult. These stocks mostly trend higher, so we are of a bullish bias. Russell's a little bit more beaten up. I think maybe an 8 or 9% correction. Same thing with the Dow. But I like looking at the NASDAQ here to see if we can head a bit lower. I've actually considered a short, but it's just not set up in my process. And then the same thing with the S&P. We are eyeing it. I would more so like to just get in on a dip buy. So I've actually highlighted on the NASDAQ. If this thing gets to about a 10% correction, I want to say here at this Fibonacci level, that is likely where we're going to start buying and accumulating more. So a bit of a corrective wave here. If we go back to the day on the election, which was November, the gap up on November 6th here, I would like to see a retrace a little bit to the lows before the election results. That would be in this range that we're highlighting. I do think there's an opportunity there for us to go long, and I do think stocks will head higher and likely close higher throughout the year. Roughly 5 to 10% gain on the year is what I'm anticipating for the S&P and the Nasdaq. I think the S&P will likely outperform the Nasdaq, but we'll see. Tough to say, hard to tell at this point, but I also think TLT, the 20-year bond, has some really good risk to reward, but it's just a matter of finding where that reversal is going to be to really add to the position. But yeah, that's what we're looking at. I'll put this into the weekly report and drop it in the Discord. And if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to join us. Links in the description, and look forward to chatting with you guys again soon. Thanks.